Hello, this is Chris Carter. I'm the author of The Crucifix Killer, which is out in paperback this March 2010. I never actually planned on a career in the writing business at all. Before writing The Crucifix Killer, I never even written a short story. What happened is, obviously, as I said, when I was in criminal psychology, because you interview a lot of people, I always thought, oh, maybe I'll write a book. But that's everything. That's as far as the idea went in my head. So many years later, when I stopped being a musician and I became a computer programmer for a little bit, the idea was dying as well. I kept on thinking, what else can I do? And I wanted to do something that I really enjoyed, and I started thinking. I was like, what do I really like? And I really like reading. That was the thing, that first thing came to my head. I love reading, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to get a job reading. So I thought, well, maybe I could write. And basically, it was like that. I gave it a go. I had an idea for a book, which I told my girlfriend, and she said, actually, that's quite a good idea, why don't you write it? But it had nothing to do with crime fiction. It was a complete different idea. So I started writing it, and as I was writing the first chapter, I just thought, wait a second, I always thought that one day I would write a book and it would be crime fiction, and here I am finally writing something, and it's not crime fiction. So what I did is, like, I finished the chapter I was writing about this different story, and I wrote the first chapter of a crime fiction novel, which became The Crucifix Killer. And when they were both done, I gave them both to my girlfriend and said, okay, read them, what do you think? And she said, actually, I think the crime fiction is more interesting. She said, I like both, but the crime fiction is more interesting. And she doesn't really read a lot of crime. So that was it. When she said, I think the crime fiction is more interesting, so, like, so do I. And then I carry on writing the novel. And that's basically how it happened. I just wrote the entire novel and then did what everybody does, put it in the post and hope for the best. My writing process, well, I'm very disciplined in writing. I'm actually very disciplined in a lot of things I do, but I do have my own schedule. I get up extremely early. I get up about 5:30, and I write from 6 to 8, and then I take a 2-hour break, and that 2-hour break from 8 to 10, that's when I go to the gym, and then I go to the supermarket, get food and stuff. Then I write again from 10 to 12, then I take 1-hour break, then I write from 1 to 3, take a 1-hour break, then I write from 4 to 6, and that's the end. And in the end, that's 8 hours. So I do write 8 hours every day. that's how I do it, and I'm very disciplined with it. And I write in my house. I'm a full-time writer now, but I don't have anything special. I actually sit in a corner facing a blank wall. I have nothing like an inspiration. Or now I do. I have my first novel right at the bottom, so I can always look at it. But that's it. I just write sitting against a wall, and that's how I write. That's my everyday. Though I have to say that once you become a writer, you work more than if you work for someone else. For example, I have no bank holidays. I work on the Mondays of the bank holidays. I work Sundays now as well. You just write all the time. Advices or tips for writer's block. It's hard. I mean, I don't really. I don't know what people consider a writer block. Is a writer block, is it not having an idea for a story, or a writer block is while you're writing something and you get stuck in a chapter because you don't know where it's going to go? If that's the case, it happens to everybody, unless you completely prepare your entire story beforehand. And yeah, I think do what everybody does. Just get up, walk away, have a coffee, get out of the house. I always go for a walk on my last break at 3 o'clock. I get out of the house and I walk around where I live, either in the park or something. Just try to get your mind away from it, and then come back for it. If it doesn't work on the day, if you come back and then forget it. Then just take that day as, okay, it's not going to work. Close it down. Come back next day. I read basically anything. I don't stick to one genre. I read the blurb in the back of the book, and if I think it's a good story, I'll go out and buy the book. The last book I bought it because I saw the video from the author just talking about the story, which is Neil Cross, and the book's called Captured. And I haven't read it yet. I bought it yesterday, but I saw his video, and he gave a little synopsis of the story, and I thought, wow, it sounds really good. So I went out and bought it. I read anything, really. Favorite authors, it is very hard. I mean, obviously, if you go back to the old school, there are two that I think they're fantastic, which is Frederick Forsyth and Ken Follett, simply because They can write about the most mundane things and make it sound interesting just the way they write. The new authors, one that I read and I thought was a phenomenal book, but I'm not alone in that, is Tom Robb Smith. When I read Child 44, that is a fantastic book in my opinion. But yeah, I read anything. I read from chick lit to everything. The only two genres that I'm not very keen is science fiction and westerns, because I never really got into those types of stories. But I read basically anybody. As long as it sounds like an interesting story, I'll read it. What I'm scared of? Well, it depends. If we're talking something physical, something that you can see, spiders and large insects, they absolutely freak me out. Don't like them at all. It doesn't even matter. A lot of people say, oh, they're not dangerous. If I see an insect that's too big for what an insect should be, or it looks too ugly, it scares me. I don't like insects. Now, psychologically speaking, well, it is very hard. I'm not scared of a lot of stuff. I mean, there are things that I try to avoid. I don't like failure. I'm a bit scared of failure, so I try to do my best in everything I do. But it's not really being scared. I don't have any phobias really of anything. I mean, even when I say I don't like spiders and large insects, I don't have a phobia of a spider. I don't freak out if I see one, unless it starts running after me. But I don't. It's just like, you know, you see them, you go, oh, okay, big spider, stay away. But those are the only two things I can actually think that I am actually scared of is spiders and large insects.